Sunrise. That's the nothing personal word of the day. It is Wednesday, June 18th, 2025. And we've got a little double entendre for you. The sun has risen on a South Florida dynasty that occurred in Sunrise. The Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions again. The hardest trophy to win in sports is staying in South Florida. Fort Lauderdale will make a trip to Miami, I'm sure. Definitely to Palm Beach. It's a 3-county market. Vertical. You got to go up and down. You can't go sideways. You get eaten by alligators or sharks. The Canadians, all the great people up north, foiled again in what is now becoming almost an annual rite of passage to not win a Stanley Cup with their own game, admittedly. 8th straight time a team represented by a Canadian city has been to the Stanley Cup and lost. Worse than Perry, the Edmonton Oilers player, the 40-year-old who's lost 5 Stanley Cups in a row. I was lucky last night, Coca. I loved it. I was watching, and ever since 2003, I have a thing. I watch every sport, the 4 major sports, hockey, basketball, football, baseball. I watched the final game of the playoffs, the World Series, the NBA championship, etc. And obviously I do it because I want the feeling back. I want to feel what it felt to win it all and how absolutely mind-numbing it is. And it's emotional because you know what these guys are feeling. I'm honored. I'm privileged, lucky to know. And when I'm watching the Panthers one by one hoist the cup and skate around, I'm thinking about how the organization has changed its reputation from literally being described as a hash mark because no one cared about them. Hash mark is what their ratings were on TV. No one cared about them in South Florida at all. They couldn't draw anyone, couldn't give tickets away. New owners come in and start building a franchise from the ground up. And every owner who buys a team in professional sports tries to build a new organization from the ground up. So Vinny Viola and Matt Caldwell are not unique. The owner and the president, CEO of the Panthers, are not unique in that regard. They are only unique not in the attempt, but in the success. And as a consequentialist, I love the success. I'm not impressed with the attempt. Many, many people criticize ownership for not trying, for not making changes when they come in. Sometimes they're criticized for making too many changes. If you think about it, you only criticize an owner like, go to our new great owner in Phoenix, Mr. Ishbia. Would you be criticizing him as much if the Suns had won the title? Or would it have been, ooh, he's instilling a new culture. He instilled a championship thought process, a championship mindset. That's what I was going for, Sheldon. A championship mindset. But we judge it at the end. You don't win a title. You have to be a seller in baseball. Therefore, you haven't tried. Well, if you're a low payroll team that does well, wins games, makes the playoffs, all of a sudden, wow, way to use your resources efficiently. We play the result in our analysis of our sports teams. Fine, I'm in. Play the result. But if you're going to play the result, then you have to know that Miami, South Florida, you can stand up right now. Let's go. 8% of you stand up right now and acknowledge that you are one of the most successful sports cities in the entire country. When we sat with mayors of Miami-Dade and the city of Miami who said we want to be known as a great sports city. We can't lose a baseball team if we want to be known as a sports city that has all 4 teams. And guess what? They've done it. I did something last night, Coca, and this morning that frustrates you because normally I would reach out and ask our absolute crack research department to come up with this. But do you know Miami's won 7 titles since 1988? Why 1988? Because that's when the Panthers start. That's when the Heat started. The Panthers started in 93, 94. You had the Marlins start in 93. And of course, the Dolphins have been around, since the beginning of Super Bowls. The Dolphins don't help. They haven't won a playoff game since 2000. So forget the Dolphins. But the Marlins, Panthers, and Heat have won 7 championships since the Heat got into basketball. 1988, not that long ago. That's only 37 years ago. 7 titles in 37 years for those 4 teams. And you may think, what a terrible ratio that is, until you start thinking about other cities and what they've done again since 1988. Who do you think is the most successful, Coca? What would you say you need in order to be on this list as the most successful sports city since 88? I think it's clear you got to find yourself a dynasty, don't you? Because my contention is the Panthers are the second dynasty that South Florida has seen since 1988. LeBron with the Heat was a dynasty, and now the Panthers. Bennett with the Panthers. Kachuk. Marchand? Dynasty. Who do you think's number 1, Coca? Just fashion a guess. I think you'd be smart to think about Jordan Hudson and Pablo Torre. You would. Boston, obviously. Patriots win 6. Red Sox win 4. You're on your way. They've got 13 titles for their 4 teams. That's almost twice as many as Miami. They've had 2 hugely successful franchises since 88 with the Patriots and the Celtics. What about, where else do you want to go, Coca? Want to go to where we live? Want to go to New York, New Jersey? You're not going to be happy. You are not going to be happy. Since 1988, 12 championships. That seems like only 1 fewer than Boston. Well, wait a minute, David. I'm super happy. We have here in New York 9 teams. 9. You know, the usual: Nets, Knicks, Islanders, Rangers, Giants, Jets, Yankees, Mets. That's 8 right there. And then we counted the Devils. I don't know, Coca. We have this thing when we used to live in Miami. I don't know if you felt it up in Fort Lauderdale. This thing that we felt like we weren't good enough, that we were a nascent sports town, that we had not seen success. How many cities around this country would want to be us? You don't think Philly wants to be South Florida? They've got 3. 2 Eagles and 1 Philly since 1988. Just curious. You don't think Philly wants to be South Florida? Pittsburgh. What do they have? Steelers, Penguins, 5. They want to be South Florida. St. Louis, they don't even have 4 sports teams. I love you, St. Louis, but you got 4 titles since 88. That's it. Cleveland, LeBron, 1. Forget it. What about Chicago? What do they have that we don't have? They've got the Bulls dynasty. That gives you 6 titles since 88. Pretty good. Their total is only 11 for their 5 teams. They're ahead of us. I don't know, Coca. I'm watching the Edmonton Oilers. I'm watching Connor McDavid. I'm watching McDavid not be an impact on the game. And believe me, he's not overrated, because when he's a free agent at the end of next year, people are going to roll out the red carpet to get him. But the way the Panthers stifled the best player in hockey, they were just the superior team, and it wasn't altogether close. This could have been a 4-game sweep. You saw what the Oilers did, needing overtime. But those were all, to me, secondary stories. How do you not look at Marchand as the primary story? With the trade that took place, Alex Jones gets traded to the Panthers, hoists the cup for the first time. But Brad Marchand, it's Marchand. Brad, the 37-year-old longtime Boston What did I call him? Oh, it's not Alex Jones. It's Seth Jones. Who's Alex Jones? Ah, yes, it is. Thank you, Coca. 4869. Seth Jones hoisted his first Stanley Cup. That's Popeye Jones's son. Did you hear on the broadcast what Kenny Albert said about that last night, Coca? And I didn't know this about Jones, that his dad was with the Nuggets maybe as an assistant coach or as a player, and had his son meet with Joe Sakic, who was a hockey player, and just talk to him about being a hockey player. And here's Seth Jones winning a cup. Great trade by the Panthers. But the second trade was for Marchand, who comes into a clubhouse where I had not been aware, and this is just me not having the brain capacity to have it all in my head, that he was the number one enemy of the Panthers players. I knew the whole Mike Ryan situation, that he didn't like him. There was something that happened that seemed very personal. Must have been some sort of fight. Was it against Kachuk? I have no idea the background of the hatred. But did you see, and we don't have the video rights because we don't, but did you see the way the teammates were looking at Brad when he hoisted the cup and clapping for him and loving on him and holding him in a way that just said, enveloped in the bosom of the franchise, you are us? Do you think that means that he signs as a free agent with the Florida Panthers? And this now gets me to my conclusion on winning your second Stanley Cup in a row, back-to-back cups, being in a dynasty. Guess what the president CEO is doing today? I happen to have inside information, but pretend I didn't. You are planning a parade, a boat parade in Fort Lauderdale. You're planning for a parade and to celebrate the fact that you are a Stanley Cup champion. But you know what else you're doing today? Trust me, had a conversation about it, because I remember the day after the World Series like it was yesterday, as we started to contemplate, what are we doing with the roster? When you've got the Conn Smythe winner as an unrestricted free agent, Sam Bennett, you've got, my guess, the second place Conn Smythe winner in Brad Marchand, who is a unrestricted free agent. You've got to start planning your roster. You get 0 days. And please do not play the world's smallest violin, because I'm not saying you should feel sorry for anyone in the C-suite of a sports team, because my friend Matthew Caldwell has 2 rings. Do not feel sorry for him. But it is a reality that the rat wheel, that's not the word for it. I can't think of the animal that is on a wheel at the moment. The hamstring wheel, Coca, thank you. The hamster. What do you want to do now? Do you just want to, can we just start the show again? Do you want to do that? I don't want to do that. I'm going to push through. The hamster wheel that is a sports team and an executive is staggering. There is no time to enjoy what you have because you're trying to get it again. And it's not unique to sports. We all do it. All of us who are trying to attain something, we attain it, and then we go to what's next. It drives me crazy because it's me. I don't enjoy one accomplishment, one thing, without already saying what's next, as though I'm imitating Martin Sheen in The West Wing, like that's so cool. Which it is cool, except it means that when you accomplish something great, like winning a Stanley Cup, you're forced to sit down and say, all right, what are we going to have to pay Sam Bennett? Congratulations to the Panthers. Congratulations to South Florida. You guys, and it's a you, not a we, because I moved. But for 18 years, it was a me and a you. We are South Florida sports. There's probably only 4 people who get that, but that's okay. Moving on. Oh, I'm not supposed to say that. Silence right now between transitions. 3, 4, 5. Rafael Devers is a San Francisco Giant today. Played last night. I'm going to take a breath here because I believe that this will be shocking to you when I tell you that Rafael Devers met the media yesterday, put on his uni. He didn't quite, I don't know if you have a picture of it, Coca. He didn't quite button it, but he had his uni on, which is very nice. Meets the media, very nice. Gets introduced. Says, hello, San Francisco. What do you think the first question was? First question. I don't have the order of the questions, but I'm just surmising. What do you think the first question was? To me, easy. First question. Hey, Rafi, welcome to San Francisco. Did you find a place to rent yet? Pretty expensive. Or do you think the first question was, hey, Rafi, are you willing to play the field? And we're talking about baseball. Do you know what Rafi answered? I'm here to play wherever they want me to play. I nearly fell off my chair. I fell off my chair with excitement, knowing that I was only a mere 9 hours away from the start of the next Nothing Personal. I knew that I'd be able to sit here and smile and grin in a way that creates wrinkles because the Boston Red Sox front office was watching that media avail. Believe me, they were watching. Then the owner, the president, got a video of the comments by Devers with FYI, probably an eye-rolling emoji and likely a bird emoji. And I don't mean the eagle kind. I'm talking about between the ring and the index finger, which may be the same thing. Can you imagine that Devers had told the Red Sox that he has no interest in playing anything but DH, got the back of David Ortiz, who then changed his mind, and then got traded because he was so bad in the clubhouse, because he was so upset with the front office and so upset with the general manager, whoever he was upset with, that it got him traded because he was so terrible. And then he walks in and says, look at me, I'm a new man. What are the odds? Let's just ask you a little personality question. What are the odds that he's changed overnight? Or what are the odds that the shiny new penny with the shiny new relationship sits with the shiny new partner and says, I love you, I'm attracted to you, I need you, I want you, I'm here for you. And then days pass, weeks pass, months pass, maybe even a year or two pass, and you look around and say, oi, turns out I haven't changed at all, and you're just as ugly, you're just as mean and disrespectful, and all the other adjectives that Devers has used to describe Boston's front office, you're all that. What do you think the odds are that one plane ride west changes someone? The old change of scenery argument in sports is one of my faves. Brand new player, brand new scenery. I've done it. Of course we do it when you run a team. Hey, we're doing a change of scenery trade. We're going to bring in a guy with a 7 ERA and say, hey, look, he used to have a 2 ERA once upon a time. He'll do it again. Does it work? Sometimes, not often, and none of the times did it change the scenery. Excuse me, you're not good at playing in New York. Let's trade you because you'll be great somewhere else, Jordan Montgomery. Oh, I guess not. Change of scenery. That's what Devers had? Change of attitude? Change of latitude? Here's the more likely scenario, is that Rafael Devers knows that, having spoken to his agent, some of his marketing people, his inner circle, they said, dude, we usually don't do anything but agree with you and genuflect in your general direction because you're paying all our salaries. But I should point out to you, by the way, that's a Easter egg for something later in the show. But I should remind you that you don't want to soil the relationship with the Giants front office, because I'm not sure that Buster Posey or any Sandy Dean, any of the people over in LA, in San Francisco, are going to knee-jerk and trade you And if they do trade you, it may not be to a place you want to go. So why don't you do yourself a favor and be willing to be a teammate? And so that's what Devers did. What do you think the media did the minute Devers said what he said? What would you do if you were the media? You'd want to comment from the Red Sox. So you go to Craig Breslow, and you say, just out of curiosity, looks like Devers is willing to play the field now. How do you feel? Quick word of advice to executives listening. When the media asks you two specific questions, I'm going to give you the same answer that you need to give every single time. Do not give it a thought. It has to be a knee-jerk reaction. 1, at the end of an interview, every interviewer says, is there anything that you'd like to add? Answer, no thanks. It's like the end of a cross-examination in a courtroom at trial. Did I miss anything? No. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you'd like to answer? No. That's how every interview ends, and that is what your answer needs to be. Second thing, where you have to have the same answer every time. How do you feel? It's always a great one because that is asked by media and people and fans all the time. How do you feel about blank? How do you feel about the new pitch clock? How do you feel about this player hitting 3 home runs? How do you feel about this player hitting 0.69 for the first 20 games of the season? How do you feel? Always start with, it doesn't matter how I feel. Because what you're then doing is making sure that the questioner understands that the opinion you are about to give does not necessarily reflect your feeling, so they can't run with any sort of story whatsoever and any sort of beef, any sort of problem. So they go right to Breslow and they say, how do you feel about Devers wanting to play the field? And he said, that's probably not a question I'm as capable of answering as Rafi is. At this point, Rafi, that's Rafael Devers. At this point, Rafi is there, we're here, and we have a game to win. Now, of course, that was him in Seattle prior to the Red Sox playing the Mariners. How did the Red Sox do in game 2 of the we don't have Devers anymore? Or this was game 2, and I believe what happened, Coca, is that the Red Sox may not have won that game. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. It turns out that the Red Sox, what do you think they did? 8-0 Mariners. Game 2 of that series without Devers. God, if there's anything Craig Breslow did not want to see, it's his offense being shut out. Oy vey, you just want to score like 20 runs to show we don't need him in the offense. I digress. I can't even believe that Devers would do that. It's so great. It's not that there's any love lost between the Giants front office and the Red Sox front office. There's so much competition between front offices. We all don't like each other, but we compete against each other. We hug. We have drinks together when we see each other, smile, shake hands, but make no mistake, we want to bury every last one of them. So competitive, so very competitive that the Giants are trying as hard as they can when they traded him. You're not buying any of this, are you? You're not buying the fact that Devers was traded to the Giants and asked for the first time by Buster Posey, hey, welcome, any chance you want to play first base? You're not buying that, right? You know very well that Devers had told the Giants, whether it was through Adames, one of his friends on the Giants, or directly to Buster Posey himself, you understand that Devers had said to the Giants that he was going to play the field before the trade came out. We all understand that this is not a surprise, that the Giants were not taking on that contract. Hi, just curious, welcome to San Francisco. Will you play the field? Are you kidding? The only reason that trade happened is that the Giants knew that Devers was going to play the field because the Giants didn't want the lack of roster flexibility the same way the Red Sox wouldn't. The Giants didn't want a turn in the clubhouse the same way the Red Sox didn't. You think that Devers is going to come over? And how do you think that is? New relationship, which it wasn't new because of tampering, but just pretend it's new. Is that how it works? Nice to meet you, Rafi. I know what happened in Boston. Holy criminy, that must have been terrible. By the way, get a first base glove and go take rounders. Yeah, that's the right way to start the relationship with Devers. Would you give me a break? It's all so choreographed, purposefully. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Coca told me to watch something. I love when audience gives me suggestions. Coca gives me great suggestions, doesn't do it often. I'm going to review MobLand when we come back and then talk about a consecutive game streak that came to an end last night for a bizarre reason. We'll talk about it after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. Please, Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. Get on the YouTube channel and hit subscribe. Do it till it says subscribed. Thank you very much. If you're listening to this, tell your friends about what we're doing every day, 7 to 9 a.m. Make sure you check out our new merch at davidsamsonpodcast.com. We've got new big mugs with new logo. I'm showing it on the screen right now. You can see that, which I can. Nothing Personal with David Samson. Thank you for your support. We do this every day, 7 to 9 a.m. live, except tomorrow when it's a federal holiday. But at least 240 times a year, you will see this mug at 7 a.m. live. It is true that the schedule's gotten a little cray-cray, Coca. You and I are talking late into the night and early in the morning. I don't know how sustainable it is, but we're going to keep going for as long as possible because you know this is episode 1299. Coca, you and I on Friday, when Coca will do the second hour with me, because no episode tomorrow for Juneteenth federal holiday, we will be doing episode 1300 together as we did episode 1000 and episode 500. But Coca will be doing every Friday episode with me, hour 2, because we're now a 2-hour show. No matter what happens during the course of my life and my schedule, it doesn't matter to me. I will give up sleep, rest. I'll give up just about anything, not everything, but almost everything. But I'm going to watch a movie or a TV show every day. I love it. Coca called me up and said, David, watch MobLand. All right. What's the running time? Oh, episodic. How much per episode? About 40, 42 minutes. Perfect. How many? About 8 or 10. I can't remember. Great. I'll start. Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, Tom Hardy, CC required, closed caption, heavy Irish accents. That's all I got for you. That's my entire accent portfolio. I can do like 2 words in every accent. An Irish. I don't get to roll my R's much. If I spoke Spanish, I could. Do you know how good this show is on Amazon Paramount Plus? Tom Hardy plays a character that is a very common character to be played. It's the family helper. It's like Harvey Keitel. He cleans stuff up. He's the wolf. He is the trusted right-hand man of Pierce Brosnan, who's married to Helen Mirren, and they are on top of one of the top 2 crime families in England, UK. Call it UK. Call it Ireland. I actually don't know. I think it's UK. It's not a true story. And Tom Hardy has to clean up a whole bunch of messes, and he does it in a way that is brilliant acting, Emmy Award acting. I'm not sure any of the other characters will be nominated, but the overall show, and I think Tom Hardy should be nominated, the overall show is delicious. It's delicious in its irony. It's delicious in its violence. It's delicious in its absolute incendiary ways that it pushes and pulls on people to normalize what we should never normalize. And you're stuck looking at this show, which is so good, saying, God, does this happen? And then you go to a 30 for 30 documentary about a bunch of crime families, and you say to yourself, this is amazing that anyone would live this way. Tom Hardy lives in a way where he somehow lives because he's the star of the show, but I don't know why people wouldn't just pop him immediately, given what he does. Not going to prison. Everyone in the cast, great performance, but the characters, every last one of them should be in prison. I was thinking, Coca, with MobLand, did you come up with one? Is there one redeeming character who is law-abiding and just a good person? One. Eddie? I don't think so. If you haven't watched MobLand, you should. Please check it out. So tomorrow, we're not going to be able to review Animal House because we're not doing a show. And Thursday is when we do a movie from my top 100. We're going into Friday, and you've got now 2 days to watch a series on Apple TV. If you're buying Apple TV, you're ready to watch baseball, then you have it. It's a series called Your Friends and Neighbors. I finished that just a couple days ago, or last weekend. Have not had a chance to review it. I'll give you a couple days to get through it. John Hamm, you're going to love it. Amanda Peet, you're going to love it. Olivia Munn, you're going to love it. It's called Your Friends and Neighbors. I'll review that on Friday. I would like to tell you how much I absolutely love doing this. And a drive to left field by Castellanos. I didn't pull that off the way I wanted to, Coca. Here we go. 4869. Can you imagine when I got dressed this morning and realized that I cannot even button my blazer from a blazer I had about 20 years ago in Haups? And a drive to left field by Castellanos. That was better. Why is Nick Castellanos in my head? Why is Tom Brenneman in my head? The reason why these things roll around in my head like a roller coaster in Gurnee, Illinois, is that he's in the news today because he wasn't in the lineup yesterday. And you may say to yourself, normally, David wouldn't talk about who's in the lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies on a random Wednesday on Nothing Personal, until I tell you that Nick Castellanos had a consecutive game streak that was significant, to say the least. Like above 200 straight games. That may be nothing compared to Cal Ripken, who played 2,600 games or 2,500 straight games over decades. But in this day and age, very few people play 162. Nick is one of those guys. Now, did he get hurt? No. Ineffective performance? No. Turns out that he was a defensive replacement 2 days ago, late in the game, got taken out of the game. Happens to everyone. And apparently he lost his sanity. Apparently he made a comment to the manager, Rob Thompson, that Rob Thompson did not like. Rob Thompson got the support of Dave Dombrowski and of Mr. Middleton, and they decided his punishment was going to be a benching. I would like to tell you that when you've got a consecutive game streak player, and the best example I can give you from my time would be Juan Pierre, where Juan Pierre wanted to play and did play every day. If he had done something which he never did, Juan Pierre, Mount Rushmore of players who are just good people, nice people, respectful people. If he had done something to disrespect his manager or me or the GM, it would have to have been very significant in order for us to bench him. We would have found other ways, run extra, although for Juan Pierre, he would have liked that, carry snacks to the bullpen instead of the rookies, go pay for the spread at Single A and Jupiter and make it back to the facility on time. We could even hang him by his underwear on a nail and give him a first-class turbo wedgie. But to take him out of the lineup something that you cannot undo. The streak is over. It better be something so significant that it rises to the level of designation, as in, we will release you for having said that. You may think I don't take the side of the player too often, but in this case, and until we find out, and no one has, what Nick said to his manager, I am quite certain that the reaction was disproportionate only because of the 236 consecutive games he had played. If he had no consecutive game streak at all and it was not a big deal, he misses time every month and get done his shtick, you bench him and you pinch hit him in the fifth inning. Look, you were punished. Now you're back. The guy hadn't missed a game since September of 2023. So what Castellanos said, because he was asked about it, he was asked about what he could have said, and he said, I wasn't happy about it. I spoke my mind. This is what he said to the Philadelphia Inquirer. Thompson said that I crossed the line, so my punishment is I'm not playing. Well, wait a minute. What did you say? Didn't comment. So let's ask the manager. What did he say? And the manager said, one of the many things about Nick that I love is that he's very emotional. I'm not sure I love that about anybody, so I'm not exactly sure why you'd say that. Who likes someone who's overly emotional? But that's okay. He loves to play. He loves to play every inning. I thought last night he made an inappropriate comment after he came out, and so today he's not going to play, and I'm going to leave it at that. No, don't leave it at that. You know it's going to be journalists left and right trying to figure out, and they'll get to the bottom of it. Believe you me, there will be a story about what Nick Castellanos said. There has to be. Because what is it to put him on the bench like that and not give him any sort of at-bat? You can bench him, not start him. You give him a pinch hit at-bat. Guess what? Consecutive game streak. Boom. It continues. Way too big a punishment. The fact that they lost the game to the Marlins, I'm going to argue that was not punishment enough. I want to quickly look here while we're talking. How many people watched this game without Castellanos? 8,300 on the nose. God, we got to teach these guys better in Miami. Castellanos is in the fourth season of his 5-year, $100 million deal. He'll be back in the lineup today. No question about it. I was just quite surprised that they did it that way. Did him dirty. Nothing personal pick of the day. Oilers. I wrote them right down into the crapper. Have you noticed that I do that over the last 5 years? That when I get my heart set on something that I think is going to happen in a series, or a series is going to go 7, that I will ride them all the way downtown. Oilers plus 130, didn't quite win. We're 78 and 83. Why does that sound familiar to me, Coca? 78 and 83. 79. Oh, I know why. I think I had a season where I was 78 and 84 or 79 and 83. I know I had a bunch of 83 and 79s, a 91, a 62. That nothing personal record rings some sort of bell in the annals of my exhausted, wrinkly, crinkly brain. Do we have music that we can play for Corbin Day? Can you play something, Coca? Anything? What do you got? Button 2. Just hit button 2. What'll happen? Nothing? Not willing to do it? Are you not even there? You're... '78 and '84 in 2006 when Hanley was Rookie of the Year and Girardi was Manager of the Year. That's a good memory you have, Coca. I guess he was looking at that. So 78 and 83 is familiar to me. From 19 years ago, you wonder why there's a small problem going on upstairs here. Because I can remember some weird stuff. Ay vey. All right, what about music for Corbin Day? How can we not have it? We have all the new bells and whistles. People are loving our intro, all the work that Patrick Kim did. It's so awesome. The new logo, the new merch. You have all this new equipment from RG Systems, our partners at Metal-Arc, and you can't come up with one little thing to play for Corbin Day, something we've been doing for multiple years on this show. Come on. Fine. I'll do it. It's Corbin Day. Dun 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 dun. We're taking the Royals over the Rangers because Patrick Corbin's pitching. That's tonight. Now tomorrow we've got quite a game happening. Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Let's talk about Tyrese Haliburton, and we're taking the over of 13.5 points for him. Tyrese Haliburton, sneaky over-under of 13.5, because last game with his calf strain, he had roughly 0 field goals. So you may be saying that seems like a sucker bet because he may not even play. There is a prop for him right now, but odds subject to change because he's getting an MRI today on a calf strain. Let me tell you about MRIs on calf strains. It's like an MRI on a forearm strain. Ooh, how's the ligament doing? Is it intact? Let's get the MRI on the hammy. Let's figure out the grade. We're always looking for grades in MRIs. And it's not A, B, C, D, F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do we got? Hoping for a 1. If it's a 4, we're screwed. You think that Tyrese Haliburton, no matter what grade it is not going to play? Here's the thing about a calf strain is that, as you know, strains or rips, fine. Tears, great. Do you think that you have a better chance of rupturing your Achilles by playing on a calf strain? No. Do you think you have a better chance of changing the grade of your calf strain by playing? Maybe. Do you think you've got a better chance of beating the Oklahoma City Thunder in a game where you are a 6.5-point dog and you are at home and you are trying to win a game 6 to take Oklahoma City to the limit? Joe Walsh, Glenn Fry, I'm going to take it to the limit and tell you we predicted Oklahoma City in 6. I suspect that's where it will be because I want to be right. But the point about Tyrese Haliburton is, will he play? And the answer is, of course, he's going to play. It's literally not even a question. He hasn't been 100%. Rick Carlisle acknowledged as much and said, dudes, everybody's hurt this time of year. Get out of here with these excuses. Who is the player, Coca, in the playoffs who had the horrific injury? He played for Denver, headband, Aaron Gordon. Remember when he played the elimination game against the Thunder and the guy couldn't move, but he found a way to play? Game 7 against the Thunder. What was that? 2 years ago? That was this playoffs when the Nuggets lost in 7 games to the Thunder. Does that not seem like forever ago? Haliburton had a very simple thing for you to focus on, which is, if I can walk, then I want to play. That's his line. So I would give you a wait to see that Haliburton will play in game 6 and make it official, because I'm just looking for a victory that we can take so quickly. It's like when I told you Ohtani wouldn't have 75 pitches. It's hard to imagine how easy that is as a wait to see, which does bother Coca. But wait to see when we tell you something's going to happen, and we'll revisit it. Here's the official one, Coca. Haliburton will play in game 6. You were going to play music for that, weren't you? The wait to see music? The wipe? Anything? Oh, I forgot to say review. Coca is so angry. Let me just bring you inside our show right now. He's yelling at me. We're about 5 minutes from break before we start the second hour, so you want to talk to Samson. And he just said, you've forgotten to do the wipes for 2 straight days. You are not entitled to your wipes anymore. Now, he's obviously not talking about Preparation H, which, by the way, feels amazing to use. What he's talking about are the wipes that we use on the show, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, where when you say a segment like, wait to see, and then he would do this. Oh, Coco, we had it. We had a moment right there. You and I could have been in sync, in total sync, like a connection that a producer and someone in front of the camera dreams about having over the years that only comes with 1,299 episodes. When you have a wait to see what could have existed had I just said, wait to see. Yeah, that's what happens. You get a wait to see wipe, and I say Haliburton will play in game six. And then Coca says, David, that's just weak. That's weak. We're taking Haliburton over 13 and a half points. Can we talk about the Yankees for just one quick second, if you don't mind? Do you know the Yankees have done something they haven't done since 2000 and what is it, 16, Coca? They've been shut out 3 times in a row. That's the New York Yankees shut out 3 times in a row. They've scored 5 runs in their last 6 games. That's not easy to do. Aaron Judge, how many times have I told you about regression to the mean? How many wait to sees do I need to get right for you to understand that Aaron Judge is not a 400 hitter? He is an MVP, but a 400 hitter. Therefore, if a guy is hitting 400 for a long period of time, you can bet your sweet bippy that he's going to have a major slump at some point during the season. Now, when Aaron Judge starts the season 2 for 20 with 13 Ks, then you're calling him Rafael Devers in Boston. If he goes 2 for 20 with 13 Ks in 6 games during a playoff series, you're calling him a total choker, Mr. April. But you go 2 for 20 in June with 13 Ks, and you've been hitting 400 before. Now you're hitting 372. Your OPS is still over 1,200, and people are saying, oh, should we bench him? How about a mental health day? Nope. Play him every day. He's your best hitter. He's your MVP. Your division lead is down to 2 games. You have no choice. Play your best guys. This happens. Now, there was somebody, Coca, who before the season said, the Yankees are actually not that good, and the Yankees are going to have problems, and they may not even make the playoffs. I don't remember the daft fool who said that. But what I do remember is that these sorts of periods during a season, every team, every season, and every fan and media has the same reaction. Total and unadulterated panic. Do you know the panic buyers and panic sellers are the ones that get preyed upon in the market? Do you know that panic gamblers in casinos, those who chase the table, those are the ones that keep the lights on? You cannot panic sit Aaron Judge. You cannot panic if you're the Yankees. You recognize the fact that they may not be good enough, but you cannot panic because of this tiny little spell of donuts. Put the team out there and let them play. Now, it is true that the front office has meetings every single day about these sort of things when they're happening. But we also meet when we've won 5 out of 6 and we've scored 1,000,000 runs like they did. Was that this season, Coca, when the Torpedo Bats had the Yankees scoring 40 runs a game against the Brewers to start the season? Does anyone remember that? That now they can't score? Well, which is the truth? It's in the middle. And how do we know that? Because we've told you. All right, we'll come back. When we come back after this 3-minute break, it's Wednesday, which means we're about to hear from you. Your voice is about to be on the show. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It is hour 2. We started this on June 2nd, only a few weeks ago, and we have found a way, and we bring you every Wednesday. So you want to talk to Samson.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson. That is from the movie Half-Baked. There's a character named Samson, and people want to talk to him. And people have been contacting us with questions since the beginning when we started this in 2019. Questions about all sorts of things. You just want to hear what we have to say. Well, we are taking this to another level now. Every Wednesday, hour 2, will be an entire hour dedicated to you and the questions you have. Coca said, let's make it even funnier and better. Let's come up with a phone number and make it active. So we did. 631-DPS-4869. That number again, 631-377-4869. You're going to get a voicemail. Leave a message. We will listen to the voicemails. And if your voicemail is somewhat coherent, interesting, and funny, or one of those things, it may make the show. I don't want to waste another minute, even though I don't know how many minutes we are into the show because I didn't press the button I'm supposed to press, Coca. I didn't reset. I didn't do anything. I'm still getting practice here. I've got timers in front of me. I've got lights, cameras, clocks, buttons, notes. No script and no audience, though. Hello. Go right to it. Can you play the first voicemail, please?
Hello, David and Coca. This is Joe from Long Island. I'm calling on behalf of maybe the 6.8% of your viewers, as I'm in your age bracket, David. My question is a little different than the ones I've heard recently. It's more of a role play / fill in the blank. So here we go. David Samson, you are the commissioner of Major League Baseball. Fill this in, buddy. In an effort to grow the sport of baseball, your top priorities will be blank. Hope to hear your answers on the air, David. Take care. Bye now.
A nicer office. A bigger apartment. Double the security. Triple the salary. Half the direct reports. Twice the trips to Europe to scout locations. Should I keep filling in the blanks? Like a Mad Libs? Let's talk about it for real, though. What would I do to grow the game if I were commissioner? What would I do as commissioner? What would my first thing to do? Were I to replace or somehow follow Rob Manfred? Let me put this aside. There are about 5 people right now who are positioning to become the next commissioner. Make no mistake, it is a race, a political race that is extremely difficult to accomplish. But once you do, you've got one of the best jobs in the world. To be a commissioner of the 4 major sports, and throw in Garber if you want to, throw in Jay Monahan if you want to, although you'd have to throw him out because he's leaving. But to be commissioner of Major League Baseball, there are some serious perks to it, but there's also some serious tourists. Why do I mean there's aggravation? It's because think about the stuff you have to deal with. And I don't mean whether you should take Pete Rose off the permanently ineligible list. I don't mean whether you have to go cut ribbons at certain places because you're making appearances during the All-Star game and the World Series to show that you care about the community, which you likely do because you're trying very hard to grow the game. And to grow the game, you have to get young players playing. And to get young players playing, you have to build fields because not all young players can play in places without fields because they can't necessarily even afford shoes on their feet or clothes on their back. Or you may say to yourself that you want to be commissioner because you like to be driven to work every day. Or you may say you'd like to be commissioner because you like the idea of going and hobnobbing with all of the other people who are thought influencers, financial influencers, and basically strong political people like the president of the United States. That'd be a good reason to be commissioner. Think about what you can do. Oh, you got to deal with the union. Not ideal. You have to deal with human resources issues within your own organization, meaning the commissioner's office, which has a ton of employees. Not ideal. Being a CEO, that's what the commissioner is. You're the CEO of the commissioner's office, and you are the overseer of all the other 30 teams, just not their operation. That seems like a big pain in the neck. You got to choose your consigliaries wisely. You don't want any situation where you're choosing somebody who is not going to be loyal to you. So you got to choose wisely. There's so many responsibilities the commissioner has. You got a list of things you have to do. You get a list of things that people want you to do. Then you give a list of things that you want to do. And then you start talking about everything you need to do. And then you get the call sheet of the owners you need to call that particular day, of the writers you need to call that particular day, of the strategy meetings and sessions you have to have that particular day. And then you say, my God, it's already 8 p.m. This is a day in the life of a commissioner where everyone just assumes that it is all butterflies and unicorns. And the reality is it is a giant pain in the arse to be commissioner. David, Samson, you can get paid $40 million per year if you're Roger Goodell, maybe even more. Those CEOs, by the way, Coca, side note on this, so you want to talk to Samson. Great voicemail, by the way. Someone said something to me from last week's sporting class, which was part of Pablo Torre Finds Out, when we talked about David Zasloff and his compensation and how there was a vote of no confidence basically by a bunch of shareholders. And someone reached out to me on X at David P. Samson and said, look, you were wrong. It must hurt to be wrong. They adjusted his salary because of the meeting of the shareholders. And I said, no, his salary didn't change. What those shareholders wanted was for his current salary to change of what he was actually going to be paid. That didn't change. Now they adjusted his comp for the next year. Totally normal, totally fine given the stock price and what it's done. But the shareholders had no power to absolutely change his current salary. I don't know why I felt that I'd go through that, Coca. I just did, okay? Back to the voicemail. Back to the commissioner. Day in the life of the commissioner. What you're thinking about at all times. You're thinking about labor. You're thinking about safety. You're thinking about how do you get kids into the pipeline. You're thinking about how to get corporate sponsors into the fold. You're thinking about media. If you asked Rob Manfred the number one thing that he thinks about on a daily basis, it's a pretty easy one. It's the media landscape. It's the ever-changing media landscape. And how do you possibly deal with the reality of a decreased revenue stream from local media, and how do you make it more national? That is the obsession, and it's a daily one. That was a good voicemail. Thank you. All right, what do we got? Number 2.
Hi, David. All right, I've been listening for a very long time before you even had a show. Wanted to call in with a question to get things started. I love the NBA. I've watched my entire life, but it's obvious that the regular season just means nothing, and the play in the playoffs is so much better. And people talk about the long schedule, but there's the TV money coming in. Does anything ever happen where they actually will reduce the season, or the audience for the regular season becomes such an issue that they have to pivot to a new model? I just feel like something has to change because the regular season 82 games is so boring. Something's got to change. Good luck with all your success, and really happy for you and Coca, and talk to you next week. Bye.
It's always tough for people to exit voicemails, all of us, isn't it? Like, do we all do that when we leave a message? Though I think these days, Coca, no one leaves voicemails for anyone but me. I always find the exit to be clumsy. I just try to say what I have to say. Hey, give me a call back. And then if you don't hang up fast enough, you know there's going to be sort of silence, and there's no way you're going to pause long enough to hit 3 if you want to re-record your message. Forget about it. I'm not hitting 3. I just want it sent. I'm going to hang up. But now I've paused enough that I guess I need to say one more quick thing. Hey, all right, have a good day. Took me 3 seconds to think about saying have a good day, but now I have. Here's how you should just end any voicemail to me. Just, hello, David, ask your question, and then, boop, hang right up. This is a popular topic. Thank you for calling about it. I don't quite understand what it means that you've listened since before I had a show. Maybe you listened to Le Batard or to CBS, or maybe you just listened as I wax poetic as president of a baseball team or a guy who delivered newspapers. I don't know, but thank you for listening to Nothing Personal. By the way, shout out to someone I've worked with for 23 years. Hi, Beth, my amazing assistant. I need new notepads. My notepads have the old logo. We need to get on that. Because look, I've got new coasters. DavidSamsonPodcast.com. It's in the merch store. I've told you, I showed you the coffee mug. But the notepads that I use, this is actually a real notepad from today, Coca. Nothing Personal with David Samson, old logo. But this is what I did, the research of the calculation. I'm showing it if you're watching this on YouTube or DraftKings Network. This is actually what I did, where I wrote down each city and the championships they had that we talked about in hour 1. I have no idea why that just came to my head at all. All right, time for a voicemail. What do we got? Oh, we didn't answer the NBA one. All right, cut that. 377-4869. People ask about shortening seasons a lot. It's a big talk in baseball, going from 162 to 154. That would be epic, wouldn't it? Take away 8 home games in the baseball schedule. 8 total games, 4 home, 4 away. Couldn't get teams to agree on that. Couldn't get players to agree on that. Nothing. Zero traction. De nada. There was a labor stoppage just several years ago with the new labor agreement in baseball. Remember when the season started a week late and there was going to be a shortened season, but there was no way to agree on who was going to get paid what, when, where, how. So they still played the 162. Side note, and they extended the season further into November. Anyone remember that? I love the idea of going from 162 to 154 because 162 is too many, but we do have a revenue situation. It's not a TV revenue situation. All local TV deals, just so you're aware, they require you to make 150 games available to them. So if you play 154, you're fine. The complaint that regular season games don't matter. That's as old as the hill for sports like hockey, basketball, and for baseball. Any sport where there's more than 16 games or 14 games or 17 games in a regular season, obviously, each regular season game is less meaningful. We do the math for you. We say to you, when a football team wins its first game of the season, that's the equivalent of a baseball team winning its first, just for purposes of this conversation, call it 10 games. You're 10-0, and it's the same as the NFL team being 1-0. But 10-0, for whatever reason, feels way better, doesn't it? Or when you're 0-3 to start a season, which many teams are, all of a sudden everyone's like, oh no, what's happening? And we tell you, excuse me, that's like being down in the first quarter of week 1 and saying your season's over. We've already had so much change in the baseball season since April, and we're only in mid-June. By the time we get to September, you'll look back on April and say, wait, what year was that? I can't quite remember. It happened in hour 1 when we talked about the torpedo bats. How many of you were focused on the Yankees torpedo bats against the Brewers and the number of runs they scored to start the season? And that's like a distant memory. NBA. They've been dealing with this, God, since I've been a fan of the NBA. They just call it something different now. They call it load management. Load management, meaning it's too hard. Players can't play 4 games in 5 days. They don't like playing back-to-backs. Hurts their body. Baseball players play back-to-back. Sometimes 10 games in a row. If you think baseball is not physically taxing, then you've not ever played baseball. The problem with shortening the regular season is that there's too many constituencies who are not in favor. When you've got a combination of TV, player union, and management, none of whom want to do something, it doesn't even come up. When the commissioner's office says they want to shorten the baseball season, they do, but it's part of an overall negotiating strategy with the union for collective bargaining. When the NBA comes up with load management rules about you better play 65 games or you're not going to be eligible for postseason awards or you're not going to be eligible for all NBA teams, which is going to impact your maximum contract, and you can only be unbelievably filthy rich. You can't be super duper to the max, pun intended, rich. Turns out that is not any sort of incentive for any player. Hey, I got to play the 65. Turns out it doesn't matter. But the reason why the NBA does that is they're trying to be good partners to try to make believe that the regular season matters more than it does. Now, what does seeding matter in the NBA? Quick show of hands. What seed was Indiana? Quick, Oklahoma City, best team in basketball. Assume they were a 1 seed. What seed was Florida in the NHL playoffs? The Stanley Cup champion Panthers. Just by a show of hands, what seed was Florida? While we're at it, what seed was Edmonton? You see where I'm headed with this, right? Coca's shaking his head. Where I'm headed with this, which I will land right now, is that the NBA is not going to shorten its season because the NBA did a media deal that requires a certain length of season. Major League Baseball will not shorten its season in the next collective bargaining agreement because they will not be able to get to agreement on myriad other issues that will come up before you can even begin pondering what to do in terms of shortening your season. It's a good one, though. This one is not a voicemail. Oh, I'm going to read this one. This one may have come at David P. Samson on Twitter or X, or Coca, it could have come on Instagram at David P. Samson. I'm not sure. Or it could have come in an email at davidsamsonpodcast.com with the merch. Here it is. And I have no name associated with this. Sorry, Coca. Did it ever bother you that two of your closest natural rivals in spring training, meaning the Mets and Washington, were also division rivals, with another team, St. Louis, also being a National League team? Did you ever want to see more AL teams in spring training? Seeing division rivals in spring training has to be a liability for pitching in the regular season. Likewise, if a spring training lineup on the second Tuesday in March featured few everyday starters, as is normal, did you ever have to deal with fan disgruntlement? Well, I do appreciate that question. I do. I want to take this in counterparts, Coca. There's a rule in baseball that a traveling team, when you are on the road in spring training, you have to bring a representative team of last year's big league team, 4 people who had seen time as a big leaguer in the previous season. The number one violator of this is the New York Yankees. When the New York Yankees have to cut across Florida to go from Tampa to Jupiter, they bring scrub number 1, it number 2, goofy number 3. They bring players that you just are disappointed because you've sold a bunch of tickets thinking you're going to see Judge, thinking you're going to see Stanton. Sometimes you do. Most times you don't. The number of times that I personally called the commissioner of baseball, hey, the Red Sox did not bring a representative team. Hey, could you look at the lineup for our Yankee game? It's a bunch of dreck. And do you know how many times the Yankees or Red Sox got fined or suspended or yelled at or spoken to or wanted to follow the spring training rules? 0.0. A rule without a tooth is not a rule. There's got to be a punishment for it because there is fan disgruntlement. There is executive disgruntlement because when you buy spring training tickets to see the Yankees or Red Sox play, you want to see the Yankees or Red Sox play. And it's not just the Yankees or Red Sox situation. I feel the same thing about the Marlins. Now, we had a few players who got to choose who would go across to Tampa. And it may be true that we wanted to get Tampa, get the Yankees, get Red Sox, Fort Myers, and pay them back and not send our marquee players. And you may laugh and say you didn't have any marquee players. And I may say, go back and look at our rosters. And you will then apologize, Dice. Say, I'm sorry, David, you did have marquee players. And I would say, yeah, we would purposefully plan who was going on what spring training trip. Fans' happiness be damned. We were all about payback. But the first part of your question is definitely interesting to me because this was talked about during meetings during spring training. So we do share a facility with the St. Louis Cardinals. We only would see the Cardinals 6 times during the course of a regular season, and we would see them just as many times during spring training because how great is it to be a road team in your own stadium? You get to be in your own clubhouse. So the Cardinals would be the road team with the Marlins would be the road team with the Cardinals, and everyone is the happier. And it was never an issue. Who are we playing? Who do we not want to pitch? Because we only played him 6 times. But when the Mets were coming to town, or the Braves, or the Nationals, we paid attention to who was starting. If you go look at spring training box scores, if you are playing your opening day opponent 5 days before the opener, the odds are you will have your pitcher in his final preseason spring training start, pitch in a B game, pitch on a backfield, or find a way to move the rotation around so the pitcher can appear in a game not against that team. It sounds so trivial and trite. I couldn't agree with you more as I look back on it. It's so preposterous. It's not nearly what it is in the NFL when you can have a coach like Bill Hudson Belichick who can do something to set up a team starting in the NFL preseason, and he's doing something that sets you up for one play in the fourth quarter at a game that you may play in week 16 or even in the playoffs. That's pretty common. There are pitchers who will tell you that they pay attention to every pitch they pitch to a certain specific hitter, and that during spring training, they don't show their full arsenal, and that they also don't sequence their pitches during spring training the way they do during the regular season, so hitters can't get used to it. Meaning, do you go 2-1 fastball every time? Are you a 1-2 changeup guy? Are you a 1-2 slider guy? There are trends, there are things that you go to as a pitcher. But in spring training, when you're facing a division rival, we do meet with the pitchers and we say to them, hey, you're going to pitch backwards today. Or we say, hey, you're not going to throw your cutter today. Hey, we're just going to work on breaking balls. I don't care what the count is. I want you throwing breaking balls. The reason why you have these conversations is that we don't give a rat's pituitary gland about our spring training record. We don't care about winning games in spring training. All we care about is getting players ready for the regular season and making sure you're not giving away a competitive disadvantage to your competitor. Any disadvantage. There are scouts at every spring training game. They are tracking pitches. There's video. Today, forget it. It's real time that you can get pitch sequencing without mapping it manually. We were very, very hesitant to play division rivals too often, but just so you know, the schedule is done by Major League Baseball, and it's done according to, with the union, what's the least amount of travel. So if you happen to be near Washington and Atlanta and the Mets, you're playing them a lot as the Marlins. That's just how it goes. Okay. Oh, we have a voicemail next. Coca, go ahead and play his voicemail. I'm just going to give an intro to it, This comes from someone. Please pay attention because I may or I may not know this person. Go ahead, Coca.
David, this is Bo from Indiana calling on an olive green landline rotary. First time, long time. Hey, look, this is difficult for me, but I was your cousin Joel's idiot friend at the Las Vegas bachelor party. Who had Vegas get the better of me the night before we were supposed to play golf. And I pretty much threw up all over the van, taking us to the golf course. And if I'm not mistaken, when the van accelerated at the stop lights, that river of vomit flowed back to the back of the van where our bags were stored. And I'm pretty sure yours got the worst of it. So my question, David, is can you ever forgive me for that moment? It really has bothered me over the years. It's going on about 30 years now, and it's troubled me. I need you to forgive me. Can you ever do so? Rack me. I'm going to hang up and listen.
All right, let me break that down for you. Number one, I have no recollection of my cousin Joel's bachelor party, though it tracks that it would be in Vegas. Number two, I don't golf, so I can't imagine that I went golfing at the bachelor party, were I even to have been there. Number three, you want me to forgive you for vomiting inside a van? That's just weak. If you're going to be sick, you got to be sick like a man. You have the van pull over. You can't do it in a crowded room full of people. Now, if you're sick and it's not related to the fact that you've been partying all night long, Lionel Richie, then I've got some sympathy. The other area where I have sympathy for this person on this voicemail is I've got a few of these too. I've got a few people who I'd like to ask forgiveness because I will agree with this. There are things that you do, whether it was being mean to Maxine Stein, forgive me, horrible. Whether it's being mean to my birthday twin in grade school, Stephen Bossy, because I didn't want to share my birthday, I'm sorry. Whether it is taking advantage of a situation before a marathon where you have to go number 2 and you walk into someone's house when they're not there because they are serving their country by helping you run a New York marathon in Fort, I can't remember the name of the fort. I'm totally blanking right now. I was going to say Fort Bragg. My whole thought process got changed. It's the base in Staten Island. Want to call that guy again? Can't reach him. Have no idea who it is. There's so many things. I am so sorry to you, William Markoff. We were in college together, and we were supposed to play racquetball one day, and I totally lied to you because I was going to Milwaukee to see my girlfriend. That was not nice. No, my college roommate, John Resnick, I was never going to join ZBT. I am totally sorry, by the way. I did something more. Here's a good one. How about trying to find someone that asks for forgiveness when you've cut them off on the road? Sorry, you just do a wave. Sorry, we're good here. I do so many things. I mean, it's not that I have regret over them. It's that wouldn't it be great to be able to find the person and just have a way that in this world that you could will it into existence the way this guy did on his voicemail. He found a way to remember and find me. Now, are you saying, oh, you're so public? He's been 1,300 episodes on Friday. You're forgiven, especially because I don't exactly think it happened. Can we go to another one, please?
Hey, David Samson. It's Steve calling from New Brunswick, Canada. Fredericton, the city of Fredericton. Yeah, we're north of Maine. Keep going when you hit Bangor. I was a big fan of Blair Barker, and I've seen a few segments where you joined them. They were awesome, and I'm a fan of yours. I have a question for you. Your insider knowledge, does it ever grate the people, some people, the wrong way? And another question is, what was your least favorite and maybe even your most favorite thing that you had to do as president? There must be something that you would delegate no matter what, or something that you wouldn't delegate no matter what. Anyway, aloha from Eastern Canada. Love your show. Very insightful.
Aloha from Eastern Canada. I'm not sure there's a bigger oxymoronic statement than that. Thank you for calling. And North of North is a great TV show you should watch. Sounds like that's where you are. And you mentioned the show Blair and Barker. Shout out to them. Love being a guest on their show. I was on it yesterday. Try to do it once a week. To all of my friends up in Toronto. Which, by the way, Coca, when we do our next tour, which is going to be, we're not announcing the tour right now. We would do that with much more fanfare. We would do that with music if we had a live, Nothing Personal with David Samson live tournament. God, that is a problem. 4869. If we had a live tour to announce, we wouldn't do it just like this. We'd be organized with merch and we'd have graphics. So we're not announcing anything. But man, it would be fun to go to Canada for a tour stop, wouldn't it? You want to know whether or not people get upset around sports with our show? Yeah, we do get calls. Now, remember, we're not a breaking news show. We're not investigative journalists the way Pablo Torre is. We are not in New York Magazine the way Pablo Torre is. We are not getting featured in Variety the way Pablo Torre is. We are not winning Edward R. Murrow Awards because we're not Pablo. We are not going to Beverly Hills to be nominated for a Peabody because we are not Pablo. Therefore, while we are counted on by Pablo to aid and assist in the dissemination of information to you, the fans, on behalf of his desire and desperate need to find out, on our show, we talk about what's real, we talk about what's out there, and we give you insight into things that you're not going to hear from anyone, because if you do hear from them, they're full of it because they've never done it. We've been in the room. We've done it. We are able to talk about things that are happening with teams, finances, on field, off field, and we're not afraid to tell you when someone is not being forthcoming. We're able to break through the noise. Why? Because we're not getting back into baseball or any sport, done it for 18 years. I don't understand how anyone can be effective if they are trying to be a messenger of information to you, the audience, and they are already having their eye towards something or someone else. You can't do it. You got to be present where you are to be the most effective now that you can be. Do I hear from the commissioner's office? Do I hear from other teams' front offices? Do I hear from players? Yes, yes, yes. Doesn't bother me in the least. Because here's what I've never heard in 1,299 shows. Not one time. That's not true. And as long as I can keep that streak alive, nothing will grate on me. Now, you're asking me to compare what it was like when I was president of a team, 2 years in Montreal as executive vice president, 16 years in Florida as president, though there was no one above me as executive VP except for the owner. So I really was the president of the Expos too. What are the jobs that I get to do? Do you remember I was talking about the commissioner? I think that was on today's show. Somehow in hour one, we were talking about the commissioner. Or was it part of the, so you want to talk to Samson? Was that part of this hour, Coca? Did we just talk about things that the commissioner does in terms of golf and rides and no? All right. Yes? That's incredible. That's scary. That really is. I need to do a quick, just for a second. Hi, my name is David Samson. All right, I'm good. Whew. We got a little schwitz going. I got those waves going that we talk about, Coca, those waves of anxiety and some sort of duodenal discomfort. I know you don't know what that means, but some of you do. Some of you are very well aware that right now my legs are crossed. I swear to you, it's true. Oh, am I funny? And it's so good to play off people during the humor because I can't quite tell if anyone's laughing with me, great, at me, totally fine, or just silently thinking, what the hell is he even talking about? If you know, you know. And yes, they are crossed. The favorite and least favorite thing I did as president, well, I think it's fair to say that my least favorite thing to do was to be in a room where I had to fight for what I thought was right. Because I don't want to fight for what I think is right because I want other people to acknowledge that what I think is right is right. You want to know the definition of ego? The definition of ego is saying, I'm right. The fact that you don't see that I'm right bothers me so much that I have to waste my time to tell you why I'm right. I can't tell if that's half narcissistic and half egomaniacism or just straight sociopathy. However, if you think about what I didn't like to do, imagine being in an owner's meeting and having to fight for your right to have a franchise that you don't want to be contracted. Imagine being in a meeting with local politicians saying, I promise you, we need this financing or else we can't find a way to get a stadium. And if we don't have a stadium, we're totally screwed. Isn't it so cool that the things that I liked the least are also the things that I liked the most? Making appearances during the course of a game. You get a list of things you have to do. Go to suite number Gimel, and you have to shake the hand of the following 3 people because they are big sponsors of ours. Then you've got to go down to section 69, make sure you see the people in row 4, long-time season ticket holders, give them a handshake. While you're at it, we have to have a meeting in the clubhouse because we're out of diapers. God, I really like road games better, Coca. Way better. No lists, 0 lists, nada. Well, it's not true. Sometimes I had to go see people on the other side, but generally very, very, very short lists. I got to tell you, I loved it. It's fun to walk into a room where you are the center of attention. It's fun to walk into a room where you perceive that everybody wants to be you and have the job you have. Why would I lie and tell you that that's not fun? It's fun to feel like that you're living everybody else's dream, even when there is stress to the point of night sweats and hair falling out and total anxiety, if not paralysis of anxiety, and complete intestinal lack of control, plus no sleep and onset of what's likely dementia. It's all worth it, isn't it? The fact of the matter is that all kidding aside, and I don't want to kid about this, when you get to be the president of a major league team, it's an honor. And I never forgot that. Were there days when you said, my God, I can't believe what I'm dealing with? Are there tragedies that you don't want to deal with, like the death of a player? Are there situations where you're getting hammered, like with a trade that you made that your kids are being made fun of? Are there moments that you get to be on top of the world and hold a World Series trophy and get to say cheap thrills and look at a New York Post with your face holding a trophy in it? Obviously, there's only good, and the occasional moments of bad, they get washed away in a sea of great. So I would tell you in your life, if you can accomplish that, and you think I only felt that as president of a baseball team, and that's when I tell you you don't know me. When I was at Morgan Stanley, I felt the same thing. I felt like I was working at the coolest place in the world. I wear a Morgan Stanley garb the way I wear nothing personal garb now. And I thought to myself, why would anyone want to work at Goldman Sachs? Why would anyone want to work at JP Morgan when you can be at the #1 investment bank in the world with the greatest people doing the greatest things? Crikeys, my client just lost about 20 mil. Loved every day of it. Before that, delivering newspapers, a newspaper delivery boy. Loved it. Did I love flying back and forth to Europe for 3 days at a time? Yeah. Did I love finagling and talking my way onto the Concorde at Air France when I had a coach ticket on a regular plane? Yeah. You know that in pre 9/11 days, you could talk your way into anything at the airport. This is a true story for all of you former employees or current employees of Air France. There was a guy who was 26 years old, 26, flying back and forth to Paris several times a month as Air France had that hub. And just if you want to know, flight 009 is where the papers went back in the day. I don't know if Air France still has a 009. There was a 007 that left it in the 7 o'clock hour, a 009 that left in the 9 o'clock hour. But I could never talk my way onto the Concorde, which at that time was still flying back and forth to Paris and England from New York. I only would be able to talk my way flying home because I would go to Charles de Gaulle Airport and I would just start talking in my broken French and I would look like a sad young man. It was always helpful to be 5'5". When you're 65 inches, you have a way better chance of talking your way into things than if you are 85 inches. Believe me. Although I don't think anyone would be 85 inches. That would be Yao Ming. If you're 6'2", that's only 9 inches more. 74 inches. I'm funny. I really am. I don't even remember what the question was. I just know that I absolutely have loved everything I've ever done. Of course there are bad days. Of course there's bad shows. I had a bad show yesterday, I told Coca. And you know what? We're going to come back today and do it again. And you know what we're going to do after today? We'll come back Friday and do it again. It's what you do. You come back. All right. What's next? Ooh, this is a good one. This one is in writing. Here we go, Coca. Ready? By my calculations, we're just about to the middle of the middle. I love you already. Let me stop there, Coca. Middle of the middle, what that's referring to as I talk about the season. Is it early season, mid-season, late season? Then it may be early mid or early late, or it's really late mid. Right now, it pretty much is middle of the middle. Tigers and the Pirates start a series tomorrow. Is this a current email? Currently, Skubal is penciled in to start Wednesday, and Skenes is slated to start Thursday versus TBD. Do you think there's any chance Hinch, manager of the Tigers, goes with one of his famous bullpen chaos games on Wednesday to give all baseball fans exactly what we want, a Cy Young showdown? You think there's any outside pressure to make that dream come true? I'll hang out and wait for my answer on Wednesday's episode. Love the new format. Always be changing. Hell yeah. This is a great one. Do we ever change the rotation to accommodate the commissioner's office or a TV network in order to get the matchup that they want on a particular day? Let me be brief and clear. No. Does the owner ever say to us, I'd like to have this pitcher pitching against this team on this particular day? Yes. Does the baseball department and the pitching coach ever meet and talk about matchups when we want a pitcher to pitch versus who? Yes. Does it ever come to pass that we would have our best pitcher wanting to face the other team's best pitcher? Never comes up. Not once. We don't say to ourselves, my God, it's opening day. Let's pitch one of our Drek. I miss you, Mark Hendrickson. I'm not saying you were Drek because you played in the NBA and Major League Baseball. I am saying in 2008, I really would have preferred you not to be our opening day starter. But there you have it. Love you, man. Haven't seen you in a bit. But did we say to ourselves, let's just start Mark Hendrickson because we're going to face a really great pitcher? I can't remember who he opened against or who he faced, but it's some other team's number one who I assume was favored heavily against us in 2008. I don't even know if we won that game. I can't even remember, Coca. But my guess is we didn't. But we didn't think to ourselves, no, we want to throw bad against good so we can throw our good against their bad. We're not going to change around the routine of a pitcher. Pitchers are extremely routined, just so you know. When pitchers have their routine in between starts, you don't mess with it. It's not a superstitious thing. It's a body thing. It truly is about how their body recovers and how often those muscles need to fire and the tendons need to fire in order for them to be at their most effective. And we will be in touch with the pitcher and the training staff if the pitcher has a little need for a change of routine. I need another minute. I need another day. But it has nothing to do with whether it's Skubal pitching or Skenes pitching. We are not going to just force a Cy Young showdown. If it happens to be, it happens to be, and that's totally fine. Thank you for that question, though. All right, Coca, I think we have a voicemail coming up. Did I lose you, Coca? Do we not have a voicemail?
Hello, David. This is Jeff calling from Vietnam. Big fan of the show. David, my question is, have you, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, have you ever seen a professional baseball team sign worse free agents than this team? Starting from Josh Hamilton to Albert Pujols to Anthony Rendon and so on. I'll appreciate your reply. Thanks.
I don't know about you all, but getting a voicemail from a fan in Vietnam, I'm pretty sure that's amazing. Thank you for calling. Thank you for checking in. And thank you for allowing me to talk about the bias that all fans have that I've been trying to work through for decades. Now, you're a loyal listener to Nothing Personal, and you're in Vietnam. By the way, sorry, but you're in Vietnam. Not sorry that you're in Vietnam. Vietnam's amazing. Sorry about that whole thing 50 years ago. So listen, here's the thing. Every team has this. How come people only think it's their team that have signed bad free agents? Because it's your team, and because you personalize things, you internalize them, you make them their own. You make it your business to say, Pujols, what a terrible signing. Well, it's true. The Angels didn't do much with him, and the end of the contract was horrific. Beginning, not as bad. Josh Hamilton, overpay. Didn't know it at the time. Anthony Rendon was the best position player available when he signed. You stood up as a Los Angeles Angels fan when Rendon was signed, and you cheered. You were so happy you couldn't see straight. You had an owner, Artie Moreno, who was spending money like a drunken solar, like a absolute person who would rather spend time selling billboards. And you're saying to yourself, hey, this is unbelievable. What a waste. Except it's never a waste when you're doing it. All Coca wants is for his owners to spend money. He doesn't care if they spend $10 billion, $1 billion. He just wants money spent on free agents. I said, what if those free agents are bad? Don't care. Spend it. By that measure, the Miami Dolphins are one of the most successful teams in South Florida. They signed a bunch of free agents. They haven't won a playoff game since 2000. Not one, while the Panthers, Marlins, and Heat win championships. The Dolphins don't do anything, but they sign free agents. Therefore, Mr. Popular. You might think I'm getting worked up as we come to the end of a So You Want to Talk to Samson episode. It's not that I'm worked up about this caller. I'm worked up about the concept that there is only your team that does a certain thing. Only your team has players that play on other teams. Only your team lets players go before free agency and doesn't sign their players. Only your team signs bad free agents. Only your team doesn't sign free agents. Only your team does badly in its trades. Only your team is so bad at drafting that they can't find one bona fide major leaguer from the draft. Only your team can't find an international player, my God, and when you do, you overpay him, and he never makes it to the big leagues. Only your team has beer that costs $12 at the ballpark. Do you get my pattern? For all of you who say that it's just me, I would encourage you to take just 5 minutes of your day. 5 minutes. It's hardly the end of the world. We do this show for you for 100 minutes every day. Take 5 minutes, not of the show, after you've subscribed, after you've called 631-377-4869 and left a message with your question for next Wednesday. Take 5 minutes, and I promise you will find that what you think is unique to your team is exactly common with all teams. no matter what time zone you're in. That must be the end of the show. It's just business. This is nothing personal.